Lyft just announced a new feature that allows passengers to pick drivers as their favorites. Despite how great that sounds, it comes with a hidden trap that could actually cost you more money and more time if not used correctly. Today, I'm breaking down exactly how Lyft Favorite works, what the critical flaw to look out for really is, and most importantly, how to use Lyft Favorites in a way to truly maximize your income despite the downsides that we'll discuss. Lyft Favorite works by giving drivers first dibs on picking up specific scheduled rides from passengers who mark them as a favorite. Passengers will see the option to favorite you on the same screen that they can leave you a rating and the same screen that they can leave you a tip. Once the passenger marks you as a favorite, you'll get a notification in the driver app. If the passenger pre-schedules a ride for the future, Lyft's system will try to send that request to you first, before it goes out to the general pool of drivers. These requests will pop up in your app with a special tag or notification, clearly telling you it's from one of your favorites. But keep in mind, passengers can select multiple favorites. So while you'll be able to see the scheduled ride before the general pool of drivers, you still want to be quick when deciding if the ride is right for you, because you're not their only option. Now, on the surface, this is a great addition to our earnings tool belt, but there's a fatal flaw that can cause you to earn less money if used incorrectly. Here's an example of a real scheduled ride in my market. Let's assume I took this exact same ride while chasing a ride challenge bonus. As a non-pre-scheduled ride, this ride is worth $1.26 per mile and $34.40 per hour. It's also a short ride that helps me rack up rides more quickly for my ride challenge. Now, because of how ideal I found the ride to be, I asked her to favorite me as a driver so I can get this ride more often. This is where the fatal flaw begins. Lyft Favorites only works with scheduled rides. When doing scheduled rides, Lyft drivers are forced into the arrive on time destination filter 1 hour before the ride actually begins. Now, from my experience, being forced into the arrive on time filter an entire hour before your scheduled ride severely limits how many rides you're likely to get before your scheduled ride starts. The potential rides you may be missing out on wouldn't be worth the $5 ride, at least not for me. What's even worse is that Lyft expects you to go online 30 minutes before the ride is supposed to start. That in itself is a reasonable request, but the unreasonable part is that you can be matched early with the scheduled ride up to 30 minutes in advance. Since drivers have to wait an additional 5 minutes to cancel without being penalized, that means a driver has to wait a total of 35 minutes for a $5 ride. Once we include the 9-minute ride time in addition to the 35-minute wait time, it brings the hourly rate from $34 per hour down to just $7 per hour. Unless Lyft addresses the restrictions that happen under scheduled rides, it's going to severely limit how useful the Lyft Favorite feature can actually be. However, this doesn't mean Lyft Favorites is completely useless. The first way drivers can maximize their income using Lyft Favorites is by cherry picking which passengers you want to be your favorite. Here's an example. In my market, for about 8 months of the year, we tend to get a lot of tourists on the weekends. Typically, they do a lot of short rides from their hotels to restaurants. Those wouldn't be great for scheduled rides due to the drawbacks that we just discussed. With that being said, I would still do my best to get them to favorite me as a driver anyway. While I don't want those short hotel to restaurant rides as scheduled trips, I would subtly ask them about their travel plans when it's time for them to go to the airport. With airport trips being longer and typically resulting in higher tips, this could be the ideal ride for using Lyft Favorites. One advanced tip that most drivers don't think about is that Lyft tends to apply bonuses to the map if there are a lot of scheduled rides and not enough drivers. So even if you don't accept that favorite scheduled ride, the passenger simply scheduling it could still trigger those surges to appear for everyone. This gives you the flexibility to decide if you want to maximize your income, whether it's taking the favorite or chasing a surge you helped create. Before I share my other tips on how to best maximize your income using the new Lyft Favorite system, please subscribe to the channel and give this video a like if you found what I just shared with you to be useful. This channel is focused on finding the best way to maximize your income whenever Uber or Lyft add new features to the platform. And if you want to make sure you capture every single dollar, you should definitely subscribe. Now, the second tip involves how to get around the shortcomings of waiting on scheduled rides. Since Lyft forces you into a destination filter an hour before pickup, consider using a different app to earn money while you wait. For me, I'd use Uber and I would only take rides that won't take me too far away from the scheduled ride. The only thing you need to keep in mind is that even with the destination filter active, is that you must go online within 30 minutes of the scheduled ride, or you risk losing it. And you must be no further than 15 minutes away from the pickup location before the ride is set to start. This requires lightning fast decision making because the second your favorite Lyft scheduled ride pings, you need to drop whatever else you're doing and accept it immediately. Missing that request, or worse, being late, defeats the whole purpose of the system. But if it's financially better to miss that ride, go for it. Now, the third way drivers can maximize their income using Lyft Favorites is by developing how to encourage passengers to favorite you. Passengers tend to not like being told what to do, so as drivers, we need to be able to make commands feel more like a suggestion. Here are 2 examples how I plan to encourage passengers to mark me as a favorite. If it's a passenger who lives in town that has a profitable ride despite the shortcomings we talked about earlier, I would say something like, hey, if you enjoyed me as a driver, you can mark me as a favorite in the app. Once the ride is over, it gives you an option to rate me. You can find the favorite option underneath the tip section. Now, do you see what I did there? Not only did I suggest that they could pick me as a favorite, but I also subtly hinted that it would be located under the tip option and the rating section. That's a win-win-win. They get a driver they like, you get a potential favorite, and you've helped them find the tip option. Pretty cool. Now, if it were a tourist, here's what I would say instead. First, I would just suggest they schedule their ride to the airport ahead of time, just to make sure they have priority in the algorithm, since tourists often have flights at similar times early in the morning. That way, scheduling ahead means they get priority and avoid last-minute stress. Then I will let them know I typically work early mornings, and if that they want to increase their chances that I'm their driver, they can favorite me at the end of the ride. If they do that, they'll likely leave a good review and even a tip to be incentivized to make sure I pick them up. If they do, then you can expect a second tip when you actually take them to the airport later. Even if you don't take them to the airport, but you decide to work around that area around the same time as the scheduled ride, you may have triggered surges to pop up that we spoke about earlier, giving you even more flexibility regardless of whether or not you take the ride. Now, the best way to take advantage of surges that you helped create is to use these strategies from this video where I break down how I doubled my income by using the stay within the area filter to do so.